at the peace talks in Istanbul, which could yield, quote, pretty good results. Moving back over to the Middle East, where Israeli airstrikes have intensified across Gaza, with at least 48 Palestinians killed since midnight, according to local medics. The Indonesian hospital in Jabalia confirms at least 22 children are among the victims. Israeli forces struck 5 residential buildings in Jabalia city and its refugee camp. Civil defense crews called the scene catastrophic. Many bodies remain buried under the rubble. Residents say no warning was given before the strikes. And on Tuesday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says there was no way Israel would halt its war in Gaza, effectively dismissing any near-term ceasefire. The Israeli military has not commented on the strikes, but said it had warned residents to evacuate Jabalia due to Hamas rocket launchers in the area. The escalation comes a day after Hamas released an Israeli-American hostage in a deal brokered by the United States. The release coincided with President Donald Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, a US-Israeli plan to distribute aid in Gaza has been rejected by Russia, China, and the United Kingdom. They're instead calling for Israel to lift its 2-month blockade to allow unrestricted humanitarian access into the Gaza Strip. We're now joined by Ali M. Bushback, independent Palestinian researcher located in Cairo, to discuss this in further detail. Thank you very much, Ali, for joining us. We've had reports today of 48 people killed, 22 of those children in the Gaza Strip. This is an ongoing situation. Given the scale of civilian casualties reported, how do you think Israel is undertaking this conflict? It seems like a repeated conversation, but it has to be questioned.
Well, thank you for having me. On the ground, the situation is completely dire in Gaza, especially most of the casualties from Gaza and from the Israelis' bombardment is a civilian, while Israel predicted that Israel forces targeting the commander of Hamas and retaliated from Gaza, from the area that the Palestinian military group launched a rocket into the Israel. So things is always that children and women and old people, they are the casualties from the Israelis' bombardment. Yesterday, Israel targeted a Europe hospital in Khan Yunis, and also yesterday night at the midnight, Israel targeted Jabalia area, either refugee camp or Jabalia city in northern Gaza. So making the situation more miserable for the people who has no shelter for them, and they are displaced several of time due to the Israelis' attack. On the ground, people are really suffering from the Israeli bombardment on one side. On other side, people are suffering from the starvation and the famine in Gaza due to the Israeli restriction in the entering the humanitarian aid into Gaza. So the things is we are in front of a negative atmosphere about the end of war between Israel and Gaza. Yesterday, Israeli delegation went to Doha and the capital of Qatar to negotiate and to talk about the ceasefire, while also Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, insist that the war will not end until achieved all the aims of Israel of this war. So the significant aims for this war is devastated Hamas, which it sounds not logical, and it not sounds as things could be achieved, because devastating a military group using the guerrilla technique to attack Israeli, it's something, and an urban war, it's not easy to defeat, and this kind of a group. So the things is it's more complicated despite Donald Trump giving a glimmer of hope for Palestinians yesterday during his speech that they are going to the peace and he hope the peace for Palestinians. That's mean he withdraw from his plan that debaucher Gaza, debaucher the Gazians from their land. Things is more complicated nowadays, especially the Israelis military body. They are insist for the expanded offensive operation in Gaza after the visit of Donald Trump in the Middle East, as well as Hamas seems that, especially after the deal between America and Hamas.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but I just wanted to bring something else up. Obviously, we've seen limited number of heads of state directly criticizing the Israeli government, okay, in this war. But recently, with the extended Israeli operation announced, and also this blockade that's been going on for almost 2 months now, it feels like momentum is building up. Do you think the tide is turning diplomatically? What do you make of the rejection of the US-Israel aid plan by China and Russia and the UK? I mean, these are countries that are not aligned politically yet. They're still condemning this US-Israel-led aid plan into Gaza. They want unrestricted humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip.
But let me just mention that about expanded the offensive in Gaza. During the Israelis invaded Rafah, all the international community warning Israel to not invade Rafah because it will make a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Despite that, Israel insists to invade Rafah and attack Rafah. That what happened ultimately. Israel completely controlled this area in southern part of Gaza, despite it's considered as a safe area by Israeli military, and asking the people from northern Gaza to displace to that area. About the expanded offensive, I guess if Israel going to do it, it will do it despite the condemnation of the international community, as well as it's not about the American and Israel plan for humanitarian aid. It's completely rejected by the all international community, even not also about Russia, China, and the United Kingdom. Also, it's rejected by France, that Emmanuel Macron asked, as well as Germany asked Israel to adhere to its humanitarian protocols and the humanitarian possibility. Also that United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, he said that this kind of plan, it's humiliating the Palestinian, and it could be used for displacement and forced displacement for the Palestinian from Gaza, as well as the Palestinian
Ali,
community.
I'm really sorry, we're running out of time here. Thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have your insight on the program. But we move on.